Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get ready to suck it! This what the rock is cooking! You just made the list! Woo! The champ is here!
Buckle up. It's time for a drive-by.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold Jackson.
Dear Ball Nation, say hello to the bald guy. Shooter here, and welcome to episode 22 of Drive-By with Shooter. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for checking it out. Today, Dear Ball Nation, I want to go right in the topic, and it's right around the corner, the holiday season, and on Monday, WWE announced via WWE.com and Twitter that for the first time that WWE will broadcast live Monday Night Raws on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be groundbreaking news, but that's kind of the way that it was reported, and dear Lord, the amount of people that lost their mind when they saw this news. Now, before I even go into this, I just want to state, as a person in the workforce who's been on both sides of this, I am currently lucky to where I work a job that, you know, a major holiday like Christmas and New Year's, I get off. I get off most major holidays. As much as I can complain about my job, I cannot complain about that. Now, that being said, although Christmas and New Year's always seem to be the exception for where I worked, there were other holidays that were not a big deal to these companies. You know, and same with my current job, like New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, I have the potential to work depending on the days that it falls on. While I would always have Christmas and New Year's off. The day's up. Now, I've worked in jobs where, you know, I gotta work on the 4th of July. Might be a shortened day, but I gotta work. You know, days like Memorial Day, you know, you're there. Short period, maybe the day shorter, but you're there, you know, things like that. So I've been on both sides of it in a way. You know, as I said, I've never been unfortunate enough to have to work on a Christmas Day or a New Year's Day, but thousands upon thousands of people across America do have to work on Christmas Day, New Year's Day. Doctors work on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. Nurses, any hospital staff, from janitor to doctor, someone's going to be there on Christmas Day, New Year's Day. And, you know, policemen, EMS, firefighters, you know, the military. Those men and women are working 24/7. And they're working through holidays, they're working through Christmas, they're away from their loved ones, sometimes thousands of miles away if it's a military thing, and a doctor could be 30 minutes away from his house, but, you know, he's working. If it's his time to work, it's his shift to work. You know, and even some non-essential, those are essential jobs, I'll give you that, but there are non-essential jobs where that happens too. I'm sure of it. I know a good example. Our local movie theater is always open on Christmas Day. Always open on Christmas Day. I've worked in a bar and a restaurant that, you know, and this was not the owner, but like, we've had people say, hey, I'll come in on Thanksgiving and work. You know, I'll work a late bar shift because I know people want to get out and I don't have anything to do. And, you know, they said, well, if you want to do it, go for it. Open up, blah, 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 this and that. So personal choices. And what I'm getting at, okay, is that a lot of people have to work on holidays, especially big holidays. It's not always a pretty thing. It's not always fun. But fans and even people in the industry and the way that they reacted to the idea that WWE is running live shows on New Year's Day and Christmas Day, you'd have thought Vince was Hitler. Now, as I said, I don't support the fact that he's making them work, but, and I want to retract what I just said, from all further reports, it was not even a Vince McMahon call. This was a USA Network call. USA wanted live programming from them on those days. And, you know, I've seen many people state, well, Vince should just stick up for his wrestlers and tell USA to go screw. If only it was that easy. You see, let me break it down. They're in a contractual obligation with USA Network to fulfill what they are asked to fulfill by USA. Okay? USA Network, which is a company of Comcast Universal, okay, they're contracted with them to provide programming. They get a set amount of money to provide said programming. And if they do not uphold that contract, then that contract can be in jeopardy. Vince is not going to do anything to put guaranteed money in jeopardy. It's just not going to happen. No businessman with any sense of anything would risk it for that. I mean, obviously you want your employees happy, but there's other ways to do it. I don't know what the plan is. Maybe he'll give them the rest of the week off. Maybe they'll have a long week off early and then work Monday, have Tuesday, have those days off, and then work Monday, Tuesday next week and have the rest of those weeks off. I don't know. I'm not in there. I don't know if he's going to make it up to them or how they can go about this. But here's my point. I find it confusing when people go off calling Vince an asshole for making them work on Christmas, calling USA Network dicks for making them work on Christmas, when there's tons of people around the country that work on Christmas. And not only that, NFL, NHL, NBA, college football, all of these sports have Christmas/New Year's games. All of them. Every single one of them. Wrestling is sports entertainment, but it's technically a sport. They're technically athletes. They're celebrity athletes, however you want to look at it. So I'm not sure how we're okay that Cowboys play every Thanksgiving and that there's always Christmas games. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day for college football are two of the biggest days of the year. You know, it's college football all day long, all night long. But somehow we have a problem when they do it to our wrestlers. And like I said, I'm not taking sides on it's right or wrong. I think everyone should have the right to be with their family on Christmas, assuming it's not a non-essential job. But I also don't think it's fair to villainize one organization when it's a sport and entertainment organization and then not villainize the others. I don't hear people saying crap about the fact that the NFL plays on Christmas. No one has a problem with that. People go to the game, the vendors, which, okay, let's break this down even further, because this applies to the WWE theory as well, or WWE statement. But every time the NFL has a game on a holiday, you know, people can sit there and say, well, it's fun, because the biggest argument I get is, well, the NFL, all those other sports, they have off seasons. So it's really important for those athletes, you know, to work as much as they can, and they'll make up the time when they have the big off season with their family. But WWE, they have no off season. So it's not fair to them, and Vince is a jerk for making them take time away from their family because they don't have an off season. And while I can see that, guess who doesn't have an off season either? The frickin' vendors that have to work in those arenas, the ushers that have to work in those arenas, the ticket takers that have to work in those arenas. okay? Or the stadium. I'm not blaming this all on wrestling. The stadiums, any venue that is holding a sporting event, it's not just the team, it's not just the athletes, it's everybody that is involved in making the building and the facility that they are using run. So it's not the millionaire football players or, the celebrity wrestlers who are away from their families. It's everybody that has to work on that operation. It's the cameramen. It's the front office. It's every guy that has to sweep up the floor or clean the bathroom in that arena. And so you're ranging from the very, very rich to the people who are scraping by. No one ever complains about that either. They complain, oh dear God, these wrestlers don't get to see their family on Christmas. Well, neither does Joe Blow, who has to take your ticket and scan it and make sure that you paid for your seat. So don't go and villainize Vince McMahon and have sympathy for the wrestlers who chose to be in this industry. As I said, I'm not sitting here taking sides. I'm not sitting here and saying that they should or shouldn't work. Personal opinion, everybody should be at home on the holidays with their family. It's the right thing. It's the way it should be. Am I going to watch Monday Night Raw on Christmas? Probably not. Okay? Bottom line, a lot of people aren't. I usually don't watch it live anyway because I don't have time, so I tape it and catch up on it later in the week. Breaking down that fourth wall. It's the way it is. I have a job. It doesn't allow me to do it, so I have to catch up and play catch up. So Christmas is probably definitely not going to happen. I'm sure USA has their reasons. I'm sure they think it's going to be a good idea, and maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But don't sit here. I haven't seen one person cry and complain about the poor ticket takers or the poor hot dog vendors that are going to be away from their family because of this. But everyone's complaining for the superstars who they might have a rough life, they might have a rough job, they might have a rough travel schedule, but it's something that they chose and they make a very good living and provide a very good life for their family doing it. But you're going to sit there and cry for them, and who cares about Janitor Joe sweeping up the popcorn after the show? Nearfall Nation, hang tight. We'll be right back. Welcome back. A piece of news broke on Wednesday, and it wasn't all that surprising. The funny thing was, as I talked to King of Nerds and High Fiver, we talk almost every day, back and forth about wrestling, what's going on, and things like that. And I had saw where Rebby Hardy, Matt Hardy's wife, had tweeted out basically an emoji of laughing, crying face, whatever, and the owl, which we all know by now represents Anthem Sports and her, ongoing feud, defending the Hardys and fighting for the broken gimmick and all that has come with that. So I actually screenshotted the tweet and sent it to the guys and was like, oh, I wonder what this is about. Well, I kind of think we figured it out, as later that, I believe it was the same day, it was Wednesday. It was pretty much reported across all social media, across the internet, the wrestling journalists, all the dirt sheets, that Jeff Jarrett was out of Global Force Wrestling, or was out of TNA, I guess, or stepping away from Global Force. I'm not even sure how it was reported. But then it later came out that Anthem Sports is desperate to sell, again, TNA, because one report said that the deal with Global Force and TNA was never actually finalized. So technically, Jeff Jarrett still owns Global Force Wrestling, and TNA is still a separate entity. I don't know. I don't know what's true there. I don't know what's inaccurate. let's be honest, when it comes to the debacle that is TNA wrestling and everything that surrounds it, nobody really knows anything. And it's really a sad state of affair. Now, basically, the report that I saw said that Anthem is hemorrhaging money, and that's a quote, hemorrhaging money trying to basically run Global Force Impact Wrestling. So this says a lot of things, but the one thing that it says more than anything to me is that Anthem bought TNA thinking they could turn it around, and I half wonder if they were lied to. I half wonder if some of the financials were not quite where they were. When it was reported way back that Vince was in talks to buy TNA, and we all assumed it was probably just for the tape library. He definitely isn't going to keep the organization open and running. When that was reported, there were these crazy numbers floating around that Vince was going to have to pay, like, they were asking him to pay, like, anywhere from $20 million to $50 million for TNA, and I laughed at that. I mean, no one's ever got a firm figure, but I believe it's been bounced around that when Vince McMahon bought WCW, that the number was between $2 and $4 million. I want you to think about that for a minute. World Championship Wrestling, a company that had stars such as Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Sting. Guys, Goldberg, all these guys that were making big money contracts, and I mean big money contracts, big enough money that when WWE bought WCW, these guys were willing to sit at home, not wrestle, get out of the spotlight, and make that guaranteed cash. Not that I blame them, especially if they're making the money that people kind of talk about. I'm talking 7 figures, folks. Now, if Vince is able to buy, or anyone, if someone was able to buy a company that was paying stars that kind of money for between $2 and $4 million, there's no way TNA could ever think they could fetch a higher price, because their value's not there. Yeah, they have a good tape library that Vince could definitely pull from and pull in, make DVDs with AJ and Samoa Joe and Bobby Roode and whatnot. But as good as that could be, and as good as adding certain shows to the WWE network would be for WWE as a whole, you're not going to break the bank buying a company that's dead. Like Vince, when Vince bought WCW, the original intention was to have it as a third brand. You had Raw, you had SmackDown, then you were going to have WCW. Didn't really play out that way, and that's fine. But that was the intention. I can promise you, if Vince gets back into talks of buying this company, it's going to be solely for the tape library. There is no intention in reviving TNA or Impact or whatever the hell you want to call it at this point and making it a company. It will simply be, we'll buy the tape library. I don't even think they would, they're not going to buy the contracts out of these stars. They're not going to do that. There might be a select few they offer new contracts to. I don't, excuse me. I don't know the logistics of that. I don't know the legal behind that, but I just can't see them. They're not going to break the bank for this purchase. So unless they get a deal, it's not going to happen. And it's just going to all go down, go split up to the people that it's owed money to, and then Vince will make a move. I don't know, but it's just crazy to think. And it's sad because taking it back another direction, I'm not a TNA fan. I never was a TNA fan. I wish now, seeing AJ Styles, that I would have saw some of that, because I'm a huge AJ Styles fan. I saw a lot of his stuff in Ring of Honor or New Japan, but I didn't watch it frequently, and I didn't see hardly anything in TNA. And just seeing this guy become such an amazing superstar over the last few years, I wish I would have saw earlier stuff of his. That being said, TNA was never... It was never about that with TNA. The thing that I like about TNA, or liked about TNA, is that it was another option. And anytime there's another option, another place for guys to work, another place for guys to build their career, another place for fans to put their eyes, that's good for everybody. You might not think that, but look, we had some dark times in WWE, and probably some of the worst was right after all their competition died. Okay? All their competition was gone, was either dead or bought by Vince. And when there's no competition, you get complacent. Some people would argue that that's going on right now. I don't think so. I think people were just so jaded, and everyone's so into the right now, in the moment, everything happened, go, go, go. It's hard to please everyone in this instant media age. That's a topic for another discussion. I think that WWE has fantastic talent roster. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of guys they have that could literally be legit WWE or Universal Champions. So they're doing well on that aspect. But once TNA is officially gone, there's a threat eliminated. Yeah, there's Ring of Honor and there's New Japan, which could become a huge threat. And as a WWE fan who doesn't watch New Japan on a consistent basis, but tries to stay in the loop and aware of it, I would love to see New Japan come in and be a viable competitor for WWE. Not to hurt Vince and WWE, and not for New Japan to come in and fail. I want them both to succeed. I want that to help Ring of Honor succeed even more, because I would love to see a time where we have three big companies battling it out and doing the best of the best, because that's when wrestling was the best. Back when you had to convince people to watch yours over another one. And I don't even think it has to be like that. I think especially, the Monday Night Wars were set up when Ted Turner said, we're going to show Nitro on the same night as Raw. Like, that was a setup. That was Turner. That was his ego. It doesn't need to be like that. And I hope that it wouldn't be like that. But that doesn't mean you want to be complacent, because you still want to top your competition, because you don't want people to get bored with your product and switch over to the other one just because it's better. You don't want that. And that could happen. So you still have to top them. You might not be in a ratings war or battle for that, but you still have to top your competition. So to see TNA, who never really, at one point in time, maybe they could have been considered number 2. They lost so much steam, especially over the last 5 to maybe 10 years. It wasn't even close. And it's sad. It's sad to see something mishandled so poorly and multiple people getting involved trying to save this, and nobody had a clue how to do it. And I want to end with this. Bubba Ray Dudley, Bully Ray, whatever you want to call him, he tweeted out, and I'm not going to go into a long description, but basically he said, he sent a note out to the talent, a tweet, basically saying, keep your heads up, this is not your fault. And it's not. There is definitely talent in TNA, and they are trying to work in a company that has poor management. And if anyone's ever worked in a company that has poor management, that just trickles down from top to bottom, and it's not good for anybody. It just isn't. It makes for a poor product, and it makes for a poor work environment, and that's just what it is. So it's sad to see. I have a feeling this is going to get probably interesting in the next few days, weeks, months, but I expect to see something come out of this. I don't think there's anyone that's going to be willing to buy this and try to resurrect it. It's going to be bought for the intellectual property and the tape library and whatnot, and I don't see anyone else getting into it. Like, New Japan's not going to come over and do that. They wouldn't have a reason to. I don't think Ring of Honor has the money or would be willing to risk spending money on that. So I really look for Vince McMahon to step in there, buy that tape library, and we'll have new editions on the network and probably some pretty cool DVDs coming out. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Nearfall Nation. I left you with a tweet from Bubba Ray Dudley telling the talent in Global Force Wrestling to keep their head up. It's not their fault. Now, this brings a big thing that I've always had on my mind, and it's the effects of social media. Now, there's a lot of negative effects on social media when it comes to wrestling and entertainment in general, and that's not what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about is the benefits and the positives of social media. Now, from my standpoint, obviously, me, King of Nerds, the High Fiver, we're trying to build something, and we're trying to build a following, and we're using social networks for that purpose. And that is one thing that social networks should be for, and that's a positive. But what I want to talk about is the positives from a wrestling standpoint, from the superstars to the companies to everything that can reach out, have their goodwill and whatnot. And also, the benefits of character building and really kind of showing you who stands out and who might have the ability that you don't get to see every day on TV. It can even be used to benefit in further storylines. Bubba Ray, like I said, reached out and tweeted to the Global Force roster. Another thing that was just recently in the news Bubba Ray did on Twitter was basically kind of give it to Sasha Banks. Unless you were under a rock, you heard all the people running with the story and I will give him credit, as some people didn't feel the need to bother where they heard this, but on the Sam Roberts Wrestling podcast, he interviewed Sasha Banks a couple weeks ago now. And basically, he addressed the airport face, the face that she gets in pictures at airports when fans try to take pictures of her. She's got this reputation for being a bitch and not being nice with the fans. So, she addressed it. And I'll just give you the short answer. Sasha addressed it as, someone coming up to you at 4 a.m. and pulling out like 50 pictures that they're going to ask you to sign, then they're going to sign, sell them on eBay. Like, that pisses her off. Or people that she flew in, no one should even knew where she was, but they tell her, we called the airport to get your information. And she says that's stalking. And I kind of find it hard to disagree with that. And that is a little weird. But, I'm not here to debate whether Sasha's a bitch or Sasha should be nicer, but Bully Ray or Bubba Ray reached out and basically said, it's when they don't come and find you for an autograph is when you gotta worry. This is just his basic way of making a statement that he loves the fans. The fans are important to him no matter what, and they should be important to everyone. And that's his side of the story, and that's kind of what he was getting out. This, of course, continued throughout the week. People reporting on it, people talking about it, other wrestlers chiming in. And regardless of the negative or positive for Sasha or for anyone chiming in on this, it's an interesting thing for everyone, from fans to other wrestlers, to kind of consume, debate, and talk about. And this is what social media does. It opens that up. It opens that door where we all get to peek inside. And maybe even wrestlers or former colleagues that don't work together can peek and see what their old buddy is saying and things of that nature. And that's a good thing, and it can be a beneficial thing. Another thing is furthering storylines. You got everything from I know on Twitter it was all over the screaming Alexa face from Raw when she screamed at Nia. Just furthering storylines. Matt Hardy just put out a really weird Woken promo. And I know they've been kind of toying with this, and he put out a really awesome, weird promo, put it out there. His wife is kind of a Twitter star in dealing with Anthem and Global Force and stuff like that, and that always makes the news. It always makes the dirt sheets. It makes our page, stuff like that. And building character and marketing, okay? I'm going to go into two guys that aren't WWE guys, at least not anymore or never have been. Cody Rhodes. And I put this on our page. He put a tweet out. He was doing a quick, Twitter Q&A, ask him anything, he'll answer, blah, blah, blah. And a fan tweeted him and said, do you think that WWE underutilized you? And Cody's response was, no, I underutilized me. I'm going to say that again. Cody Rhodes was asked if he thought WWE underutilized him. And his response was, no, I underutilized me. If that tweet says nothing else, it says that the maturity that Cody has gained, and I would say even from leaving the WWE, because I think he was a little bitter when he left. I think his bitterness was kind of why he left. But I hearing and reading this tweet, and I've heard interviews with him since, and more recent interviews, and the man is not bitter, and he is happy for what he's done, and he is happy for the company he's in. He's happy for everyone in WWE, and I think, us on the outside can throw around, what was wrong with the Stardust character, which personally I loved Stardust. I thought he was great. But, throw around that, throw around this, Cody didn't get this, Cody didn't get that. But Cody's taking the approach of he didn't do everything he could do to make them look at him the way he needed to be looked at. I mean, he's a star. Hands down, he's a star. But this tweet showed so much maturity and so much growth and so much pride and humbleness that it was awesome. And mark my words, Cody will be back in the WWE sooner rather than later. My prediction is the 2019 Royal Rumble. He'll win. Okay. He might not win, but he'll win something when he comes back, because he'll be back. Mark my words. Now, along the lines of Cody, two of his buddies, three of his buddies really, but, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Being Elite, the things they're doing with that. I mean, if you don't watch Being Elite, you're missing some good stuff, but you can watch Being Elite not even knowing a lot about New Japan, because I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about New Japan. I follow it. I get my updates from King of Nerves because he's our New Japan guy, and I go with it. But I also can watch Being Elite and be completely entertained by everything these guys do. It's a fun little show. The show's average probably 10, 12 minutes. It's fun, and they have these storylines kind of going on their own outside of everything else they're doing within the Elite, with technically a subgroup of the Bullet Club, just Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And of course, we always see Cody, we always see Hangman Page or Marty Scurll. But the characters that they're building are absolutely fantastic, and the storylines that they're doing with cease and desist letters, I know part of that's real because the Young Bucks can't say or use "suck it" anymore. They've also been noted that they can't use FTR anymore, which is F the Revival. I don't know if that's true. I think that might be part of the storyline. I'm not sure how you could get a cease and desist for that, but what I will say is the way that they play it off, the way they build the story in the show, and I can't, it's comedy, guys. I can't tell you, just like the King of Nerds, he doesn't give you comedy promo reviews because it just takes the point out of watching it. But the point I'm trying to make is these guys are building their careers and their characters and their brand to be something that can stand outside of any organization they're in, whether it's New Japan, Ring of Honor, if they ever come to WWE. This being the Elite show, these being the Elite characters, are something all on their own. that they've built, and they've used social media. You know, they use the shows on YouTube. They use Twitter to kind of go along with that and show off and play off of these things. For instance, Hangman Page disappeared because, you know, WWE took him. So one of the Young Bucks tweets out when it's announced, as we talked earlier in the episode about Raw being live on Christmas, that they took FTR, they took Cody's name, they took Hangman Page, they took Suck It. Like, now they're taking Christmas. Like, a tweet that probably took him 15 seconds to think of, 10 seconds to write, and it goes all over the internet because of how funny it is, and it's funny because it's simple, and it will get the average fan to laugh. And that is what needs to happen to pull people in who might not be a Young Bucks fan, but they follow you, or they hear about you, or they see a site they follow show that tweet, and then they're like, well, I gotta check these Young Bucks out. That's pretty funny. You know, it's a smart thing to do. You don't want to be a comedy act, but they back it up in the ring so they can get away with it. And as I said, it's completely separate. So while some things might carry over into the wrestling shows, the Being Elite web show is a completely different animal, and it doesn't necessarily have to hinge on what goes on in the wrestling. It's just smart to see these guys build social media. You know, we got Roman and Cena going back and forth on Twitter. Roman made a statement to Cena, and Cena came back and made a statement about Roman's padded vest, with fans complain about all the time. So it's just really, we're in an interesting time, folks, where we can see things develop, and we don't even have to watch the TV show. And we can check our Facebook or mostly our Twitter page for this kind of stuff and just see a story unfolding in front of us. And it's awesome. And when used right, it's an amazing tool and an amazing thing for these stars to use. And my personal opinion, when it's used right, it really shows you who has these tools and who can be the best of the best and the next big thing. Nearfall Nation, as always, thanks for listening. It's been real. It's been fun. We'll see you next time.